Hi, my name is Alan Amy, and today we will be reading Chapter 11 Mailman. In the spring, Mrs. Biswell is certain that Zinkoff will be absent for at least one day, the Take Your Kid to Work Day. The boy is forever blabbing about his father, the mailman, and that he himself is going to be a mailman when he grows up. Surely he will want to go to work with his father that day. The teacher is both right and wrong. Zinkoff definitely wants to miss school on Take Your Kid to Work Day, but the post office will not allow children to accompany postal parents on their routes. They say it is too dangerous. And besides, the mail jeeps only have one seat. Zinkoff has been begging his father for years to take him to work. Now, the thought of watching other kids go off to work with their parents while he stays behind is too painful to bear. Every day he pesters his father. "I can't, son. They'll fire me. Do you want them to fire me?" Zinkoff can only shake his head and pout, and the pestering starts all over. Days of this. At last, Mr. Z has an idea. Okay, he says. I can't take you to work officially. I can't take you to work on a work day, but I can't take you in the Jeep either. So, here's what we'll do. When Zinkoff hears his father's plan, he rushes next door to tell his friend Andrew. "I'm having my own work day and take Donald Zinkoff to work day. It's going to be on a Sunday, and now I can do it, and my dad won't get fired." "I'm going with my dad on the real Take Your Kid to Work Day," says Andrew. "My dad's a mailman," says Zinkoff. "I'm going to deliver mail." "My dad's a banker." They're in Andrew's backyard, and Andrew is batting a ping pong against the wall with his mother's pancake spatula. He borrowed the ping pong ball from Zinkoff weeks before. "I'm going to make money. I'm going to ride in my dad's clunker. I'm going to ride to work on the train all the way to the city. I'm going to carry my dad's mailbag. He says it's really heavy, but I'm going to carry it." Andrew turns and whacks the ball as hard and as high as he can. It sails to Zinkoff's roof and rolls into the rain gutter. "I'm going to my dad's desk. He said I could even sit in the vice president's chair." Zinkoff stares up at the rain gutter. That was his only ping pong ball. "I'm having lunch with my dad. We're gonna eat right there in the clunker." "We're eating lunch in a restaurant. Sometimes the mayor goes there. My dad says when he gets a raise, we're out of here. He says we're never coming back to this dump." Zinkoff looks around. He doesn't see any dump. He wonders what dump Andrew's father was talking about. He can't look up at the rain gutter anymore without the sun blinding him. When the official Take Your Kid to Work Day arrives, Zinkoff watches Andrew go off to the city with his dad. Andrew wears a suit and tie. He looks like a little banker. Then 2 days later, on Sunday, is Take Donald Zinkoff to Work Day. To prepare for the day, Zinkoff's dad has brought him a tall stack of envelopes and sheets of paper, since there's no real official mail to deliver on a Sunday. So Zinkoff has to write his own mail. He writes letters, 40, 50, 60 letters and more. He writes words that he imagines people say in letters. He feels really grown up because the sheets of paper have no lines. He folds up the letters, he puts them in the envelopes, he draws stamps in crayon on the upper right corner of the envelopes, and he writes addresses and puts the finished letters, 100 of them, into the mailbag. The Zinkoff family goes to church early that Sunday. 2 minutes after they get home, the town's newest mailman, Donald Zinkoff, is ready. He takes the lunches they packed for the refrigerator. They were packed the night before in 2 brown paper bags. He lets his dad carry the lunches. Donald himself harnesses the big, great postal leather mailbag over It hangs down his heels, and he hauls it across the living room floor, out the door, down the front steps, and across the sidewalk to the clunker. Somehow, he managed to sit in the car with the mailbag on his back. Mr. Zinkoff is determined to make the day live up to his son's expectations. He knows Donald expects to travel a respectful distance to work, so he drives around for 15 minutes before he pulls into the empty parking lot of a dentist's office 3 blocks from their home. The street is called Willow. Donald jumps from the car and starts off. His father grabs him. Whoa there, Nellie. He gives his son instructions. Start with the dentist. 1 letter to each house, no peeking in the mail slots. Act professional. What does act professional mean? Donald wants to know. It means behave like a grown-up doing a job. That's what you're getting paid for. The boy gawks at his father. I'm getting paid? Sure. End of the day, $5. $5? Donald tries to leap for joy, but the mailbag holds him down. And one more thing, says his father. You can't be a real mailman without this. He reaches into the back seat and pulls out a hat. And not just any hat, his own mail carrier hat. The postal blue, straw-like pith helmet that he wears on hot summer days with his Bermuda shorts uniform. Donald is bursting with pride. He puts on the helmet. Of course, it's too big and it comes down to his ears and nose, but he couldn't care less. He adjusts the helmet as best as he can, and he staggers off to the dentist's store, the mailbag thumping against his heels. The helmet wobbles on his head. He stops, turns, he calls, "Hey, one more thing, Dad." "What's that, son?" "Be friendly. Mailmen are always friendly." "That's right, son. Now get to work." The dentist's mailbox is at the end of the parking lot. Donald swings the bag around so he can reach inside. He grabs a letter and places it in the box. He turns to his father in the car. He raises his hands in triumph. Yes! 99 to go. He starts off down the block. A few of the houses on Willow are single homes with porches. The rest are brick row houses like his own. Some have mailboxes fixed to a railing. Some have slots in the front door. The first house has a slot. Donald slips a letter through. He listens for it to land, but he cannot hear it. The slot is eye-high, so quietly with his finger, he pushes in the swinging brass flap. He takes off his helmet, he scrunches his eyeballs to the slot, and strains to see the letter on the floor. All he can make out is the green carpet. He looks around some more inside the mail slot, hoping to spot something interesting. But all he sees is ordinary living room with furniture and a picture of the wall of 4 basset hounds playing cards. "No peeking, son." His father's voice pierces the jungle cat grumble of Clunker 4. I love that word. Jungle cat grumble. That's the engine sound. It sounds like a jungle cat. I love what the author did right there. Donald lets the brass flapper swing down. He replaces his helmet back on his head and goes back to work. He discovers one thing right away. It is usually more fun to deliver mail to a door slot than to a mailbox. With a mailbox, no one even knows you're delivering, but with a slot, you're dumping the letter smack into the people's homes. And sometimes they're right there on the other side of the door, and you can hear them. "Mommy, Mommy, Mommy, we got mail," he hears on the other side of the door. He pauses on the front steps to listen. "There is no mail on Sunday, dear. Now come over here." "Yes, there is, Mommy. Look, look, look. There's mail on Sunday. Look, look." Donald walks off smiling. He feels like Santa Claus. At another house, just as he is about to push the letter through the slot, the door opens, and standing there is a 2-year-old wearing nothing but a diaper and a mouth smeared with chocolate. They stare at each other for a while, and then Donald says, "Mailman," and he holds up the letter. "Moosh," says the 2-year-old. Donald can't tell if it's a boy or girl. Whichever, its cheeks are bursting with food. The air is heavy with the smell of peanut butter. You take it," says Donald. "Maybe it's a letter for you." The 2-year-old takes it in his chocolatey fingers. Suddenly, he or she turns and runs crying out, "Moo, moo, 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 moo." Donald pulls the door shut. Several houses later, a kid is sitting on the top step. He looks like he's mad at somebody. The mailbox is bolted to the brick wall under the house numbers. Donald isn't sure what to do. Should he put the letter in the mailbox or give it to the kid? But what if the kid doesn't live here? Do you live here? Says Donald. The kid gives him a glare, but no answer. The clunker grumbles in the street. Donald decides the kid probably does live here. He further decides that the professional thing to do would be to put the letter in the mailbox. He is reaching out to do so when the kid snatches the letter from his hand. The kid looks at the envelope. He makes a face. This ain't no letter. It's a letter. I'm delivering mail. Look, this is my dad's mailbox. This ain't no letter, the kid repeats. His lips curl into a sneer when he says the word letter. This ain't no stamp. It's crayon. This ain't no address. You can't even read it. He rips open the letter. This ain't no writing. It's scribble scrabble. He rips the letter into half and stuffs it back into the leather bag. Donald knows he's supposed to deliver the mail despite rain, sleet, or snow, but what about big mean kids who tear your letters in pieces? He turns his eyes to Clunker 4. His father gives him a thumbs up and points to the next house. Donald remembers, be friendly. He gives the kid his best smile. Nice to meet you, he says, and he moves on. Behind several doors he hears dogs barking. Behind another he hears a language he doesn't recognize. He hears bits and pieces of words and people and sounds, and once a noise that sounds exactly like that of a flying dinosaur he saw in the movies. But of course that couldn't be. Each time he tries to sneak a peek through the mail slot, he can hear his father call, "No peeking!" But he can't help himself. There is a minute or two during which he has a strange thought. Actually, he doesn't really have the thought. His mind is trying to catch the thought, as like a cat tries to catch a shadow. The thought, if he could catch it, would go something like this. Behind the front doors of houses, incredible, impossible things are happening. And as soon as you lift the mail flapper, they all disappear. And all you see is an ordinary living room. When he comes to the last house in the second block, 56 homes so far, and one dentist, his father calls out, "Lunchtime!" So in chapter 11, we see that Zinkoff really wants to go with his father to take your kid to work day. And so his dad works out a special arrangement because he's a postman and you can't take your children to work with the postman's job. So they go on a Sunday and he gives Donald a whole bunch of pretend letters to deliver. Now, you may or may not have seen a letter come to your house from the mailman, but I want to show you what it looks like. Every letter that gets mailed has an address that it's going to and a return address. And right up here in the corner is where you would put a stamp. So this address right here is where you want the letter to go. This is the mailing address. This is the return address. In case the mailing address doesn't work, they can send it back to you so you know the mail didn't get to the person you wanted to. And you always want to buy a stamp and put it on or the mailman won't deliver it. So that's how you mail a letter. Thanks so much. I hope to see you tomorrow.